Hey, good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I'm your host. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I have a real life rock star on the show. Dr. John Jaquish is here and he's going to blow your mind. So stay with us. And we're back. Let me bring Dr. John on. Dr. John, welcome to the show.
Hey, Ken, thanks for having me.
I was telling you, I started this show a little over 3 years ago, and it was to help people get unstuck in life. And man, I mean, you can't tell in that shirt, but you are ripped, and you have. I know you're a scientist, and you've really studied how the human body works and responds, and I'm pretty excited to have you on here and talk about all this. So why don't you start out? Tell everybody where you were born and raised.
Sure. I grew up in a little place called Orinda, California, which is right outside San Francisco.
Okay.
It was, I didn't realize it was a very sheltered place. Like when I describe my childhood, like riding bicycles everywhere. Like, I mean, when I was a kid, we rode bikes. Like, I don't know, like, and I tell people this and like just how I would operate. And it was just a very safe place. And people were like, did you grow up in like the 1920s? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, kids don't ride their bike, they get kidnapped. And I'm like, well, I guess nobody would have wanted me. But all my friends did too. So it was like, went to the country club, had swim practice in the morning. And then, in the summertime, it was like the rest of the day was ours. So like sometimes I'd go to the BART station, the light rail around the San Francisco Bay Area. And then we'd go into Chinatown and buy like fireworks because they weren't illegal then. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. I would have been in such trouble at like 10 years old taking the train all the way into the city. But it's not like I was going to tell my mother.
Right. Yeah, times were different. Times were definitely different back then.
Yeah.
Way different.
Yeah, so, and if you committed a crime, you got arrested, which we don't do that anymore. Yeah. So, I'll continue the story. So I grew up in, then my parents moved to Napa when I was in high school, and I went to Catholic high school there. I actually enjoyed Catholic high school. It was pretty fun. Yeah, it was pretty easy to fool the nuns.
They had rules. They had rules, right?
A regular teacher, they know what's going on. The nuns, they didn't know what was going on. So you'd be like, we'll be right back. Like at the beginning of class, and then you leave and just like go drink beer, like in the dugout. It's like, it's just like, all right. Like she didn't remember we left. So
that is so funny.
Yeah.
So now I know you have. Did Dave tell me that you were an MD or you're a PhD? Yeah, I know you have a PhD. So you went to high school there, and did you end up going to college then, right out of high school?
Yeah. I went to Sacramento State, which is the top university on Highway 50. I checked. It's the only university on Highway 50. So, it's like going to McDonald's for undergrad. It's like there's 35,000 kids that go there, and I mean, your professors won't know your name. Yeah. I had a few that knew my name because I was a pretty social guy, and also my fraternity did a lot with the university faculty. We really did we got almost like straight A's. So.
What did you study in college? What was your degree in?
I wanted to go pre-med, and my dad says, I'm not paying for that crap. He says, you're not going to go into debt so you can like see patients and basically be a manual laborer. And I was like,
Wow.
Okay. So what will you pay for? That's the better question, right?
Yeah.
And he's like,
Yeah.
he goes, well, and it's interesting because he spent his life working for General Motors and Defense Research Laboratories. He worked for TRW during the most controversial time. So he was a weapons contractor for a long time. And he put the car on the moon, the lunar roving vehicle. He designed and built that. So very smart guy. And what he told me was, I spent the majority of my life building shareholder value for General Motors, because General Motors owned Defense Research Laboratories. They want to get out of the weapons business. In fact, most of what they did was NASA stuff, even though they had the word defense in their name.
Yeah.
So yeah, he said, figure out how to make money first. And like, he did that way later in life. He was in his late 40s before he started his first company. And it was a smashing success. But he was like, wow, I should have done this like forever ago. Like, this is much better. And my general advice to everybody is start your own thing.
Yeah.
Just start your own thing.
I agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Whether you can do a job for a company, we'll figure out how to do that same job for 5 companies and start a subcontracting group. Whatever it is. Like, you don't need to invent something like I did, because I know that's an insurmountable challenge to a lot of people. Like, I'm lucky enough I had that thought to it's a medical device, and then a fitness physical therapy type product. So
but when you got out of college, so you got your undergrad, did you immediately go into a master's program, or did you wait for a while?
Yeah, immediately. I don't think I waited a month.
Wow.
I was getting my MBA immediately. Yeah.
Good for you. Wow.
Well,
that's incredible.
Undergrad all of a sudden got interesting towards the end, because like the best classes are like your senior year, because like they're the ones with all the prerequisites, and they have to do with what you'll actually be doing.
Yeah.
Like I remember my first couple sales classes, I was like, oh, like, well, this is useful. But, whereas like a lot of things, just like, whatever history, the, Maori tribe, whatever, while it might be interesting, I don't know how I'm going to apply that. So, and nor have I. No, I met some very cool Maori people. Right. And I could tell them that, and they were like, like that got me like not even a free beer.
Right.
So, so undergrad was like that. And then getting my master's, I really ended up getting my MBA. I really ended up liking that, because like that was, you were really learning how to run a company and how to make decisions, because that's the problem that most people have when it comes to just even starting their own business. They can't pull the trigger. Tony Robbins is a business partner in OsteoStrong, my medical device side of my business. His customer is the type of person who walks right to the edge and just does not jump in. Like, they just can't pull the trigger. They have hesitation, fear of failure. They have a reputation already. Typically, they're already marginally successful. Yeah. And it's like they're going from good to great, or they could, and they won't break through the wall, right?
Yeah.
They won't make that choice. And so when it came to, so I worked for a couple of years in relationship management software. Mm-hmm. So I did software sales and a little bit of design, because everything I sold had to be customized to the customer's needs. And then, and I liked that. That was fun. And then my mother was diagnosed with osteoporosis. And, I come home and she's crying, and she's like, oh, I can't ever garden again. I can't ever go hiking again. No more tennis. And I'm like, well, that's why. I have osteoporosis. And I thought about it, and I said, let me read up on that. Like, I might be able to come up with something for you, because she already knew about the medications and she didn't want to take them. So it's pretty.
What is osteoporosis?
So osteoporosis is like you gain like porousness in the bone.
Okay.
Like, yeah, the bone just becomes weak and more likely to fracture. It happens to, I think it's 3 out of 5 women and 1 out of 5 men.
Jeez.
Yeah, and fragility fractures are very common. Actually, it kills as many people as breast cancer, a hip fracture. So older people break their hip. It's not as dramatic, but they break their hip. They go to the hospital. They can't move. They can't set the hip. It's too much bone to mend at that age. You know, they don't have enough metabolic turnover in the bone to heal it. And so they're bedridden, and then they might get pneumonia or something like that. There's a 50% chance of death within 1 year of a hip fracture if you're over 50 years old.
My mother-in-law was just telling us that a neighbor or somebody had a hip replacement, and then she fell coming out of into her garage down a step and broke her femur. I'm like, how do you break your femur falling? That's a serious break.
Yeah. And
wow.
Wish her a speedy recovery, and make sure that just hope that her physicians can get her walking soon, because that's really the thing, is if they're stuck in bed, then it's just, there's a very short clock. Something. Wow. Yeah, we're not meant to sit still.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you dug into the science. You started researching this for your mother.
Yeah.
And what did you discover?
Well, I developed a prototype, but basically the discovery was the most powerful stimulus the human body gets to trigger bone growth is impact, high impact. So the rate at which, and this is seen in gymnastics, so that they can replicate it. Gymnastics is a great sport to look at and to read studies about, because there's landing, and then there's the dynamics of the landing and all the forces of body weight that go through the body, like a gymnast dismount from uneven bars, where they flip.
Yeah.
They can get 10 times their body weight when they land. Does anybody work out with 10 times their body weight?
No.
In fact, the minimum dose response, the minimum amount of force through the hip joint to trigger any bone growth at all, is 4.2 multiples of body weight.
Wow.
So yeah, when people are like, oh yeah, I go for a walk every day to help my bone health. No, you're not doing anything. I mean, you might have circulation. There's benefits to going for a walk, but not skeletal ones. So
I told Dave Daly, I said, I bought a Peloton. Those things are $3,000. He goes, set it on fire. I said, what? He goes, you're wearing out your joints with it or something like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I mean, the title of my book is where are we? Weightlifting is a waste of time. Where are we right here? And so is cardio. Yeah.
Oh my God, dude, you can't tell me that. Do you know how many freaking miles I've ran on a freaking treadmill? Come on, man. I've ran a lot of miles. It sucks.
Yeah.
I hate it.
It upregulates cortisol and it keeps you fatter longer. Yeah, it's like not the approach.
Wow. Okay. So I'm excited. That's why I'm excited about this, man. I want you to change my life. And there's a lot of people watching that need their lives changed. As you already know, I bought your and here's just one of the bands, but I bought your X3 system. I'm excited to start using it.
Good. Perfect.
Wonder how many people bought your X3 system and never have used it.
Not many.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's pretty easy to use. Like nobody has trouble putting it together. It comes together. Nobody has trouble with any of the movements, really. Some people have some mobility issues, but they can go and do whatever you know, to rehab that joint.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, and while they're doing X3, and X3 is very easy on joints. So you put really the summary is it puts massive forces through your body, through the musculature, where you are capable of creating those forces. And then it discharges those forces as you move closer towards a range of motion where the joint is compromised. So, you know, like at the part of the bench press where the bar is almost at your chest, that's where it's lighter, because that's where you're most likely to injure. And that's where you have the least access to contractile fibers within the muscle. As you push away, that number goes up. It's like a hockey stick, you know, it goes like that. So, or like this, depending on how you're looking at this. I don't know if it gets mirror imaged at some point. But you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, your output capacity needs to match. And so I took the medical device when we were doing the clinical trial in London. It was University of East London did the study. The principal investigator was from there, and what ended up happening was a lot of the test subjects, because I was there for the trial, but I wasn't allowed to like collect any data because obviously there's a conflict of interest. Yeah. So I helped with the methods section. So basically the instructions on how to use the product correctly. How are we going to perform the study? Like, what questions need to be asked? What are the contraindications? Who should be disqualified from the study? You know, somebody who's alcoholic, habitual drug use. Like, those are obvious. But yeah, and there was a whole list of criteria. And so I helped with that. And then I stuck around for a couple of weeks as the study started, and I was just observing. And so some of the test subjects that were randomly selected, they were selected from hospital faculty and staff. So some of the doctors that were there would ask me, like, they'd say, we're putting tremendous forces through our limbs, through our core. Like, what do people lift when they go to the gym? You should do a comparison. And I was like, all right. So we have people, women, it was an all-female study, women who have done they've never done any exercise in their life. That was one thing we were looking for, non-exercises, because we didn't want somebody going, oh, well, she's an athlete, so that doesn't count.
Right.
Because there's always somebody who's going to have some problem with something like that. So
yeah.
So, okay, fine, non-exercisers.
Wow.
All of a sudden they're pushing 5, 6, 7, 8, even 9 times their body weight with their lower extremities in a very specific range of motion. So the range of motion might be an inch, but it's just the impact ready range. It's just that range where they're most powerful. So they're like, so I did the comparison. I went to the NAINS database, which is the largest health information database in the world, maintained by the National Institute of Health. It's part of the U.S. government, and part of our government that actually functions. So I did this comparison, and it was profound. And I thought, wow, people are like 7 times stronger in the impact ready range of motion than they are in the weaker range of motion, which really means weightlifting sucks. Like,
it does.
Right. Yeah. Because you've got the same weight in all ranges of motion, but you have wildly different capacities in all ranges of motion. What if you could change the weight so that it matched your capacity for creating force? You'd be able to train heavier. You'd be able to train much safer with much more repetitions. So more contractile process, greater level of fatigue, and a greater level of fatigue will always yield more growth. And so
wow.
That's what I developed.
So, and this was the OsteoStrong that you started with?
No, the bone density device was OsteoStrong. Okay. So the study was on that.
Okay.
Right. And so the next product was X3.
So, but you said that the impact is what builds bone density, right?
Right.
How does that work? I mean, because I haven't dug into it yet with the X3, but does this build bone density as well?
No,
No.
X3
Okay.
is from us. Yeah, you
Different.
need to go
Okay.
much higher loads, much shorter period of time under tension. And we're talking
Okay.
seconds. I mean, the second that really counts is really like 1 second, like where you're just at your peak force, kind of build up your peak force.
Wow. So how does one build bone density?
So one can either go out for gymnastics and receive a bunch of impact. I mean, that's great advice for like a,
A
like a
53-year-old.
15-year-old person. Yeah. But that's not great advice for somebody who's like over 30. Like, okay, not doing that.
Yeah.
Sprinting's pretty good, but again, there's risks associated. But this is why I developed OsteoStrong. Like, if there was a way to do it with just like, yoga or something you could just do on your own, I would have written a book about that.
Yeah.
But no, we really needed something that did not exist yet. Hence,
Gotcha.
I invented it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Ricardo says the full OsteoStrong session is only 4 machines. So It sounds like he's involved in it. It's amazing. And there's a lot of people on here that, like Mark Rodriguez, he just got the X3 system. He said he has a total knee replacement. Are there modifications you recommend on the X3?
As long as you have full range of motion, which you should. Yeah, like just in fact, the knee replacement is the strongest joint in the body now.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, they build joint replacements so they don't fail.
Wow, that's awesome.
They don't clean that mess up. Also, the liability.
Yeah.
Like, they really engineer those.
Yeah. So you partnered with Tony Robbins on that deal. How did that come about? Tony's a pretty big name.
Yeah, it's the only way that would ever come about with a guy like that. He called me.
Wow.
Yeah, one of his friends. But yeah, you have something that's profound.
Yeah.
You gotta hustle it out there. Like, so I my first test facility was in Napa Valley, where I went to high school. And just because I knew the community, I could hustle a lot of people in there. And there were some pretty influential doctors in town. The president of the American College for the Advancement of Medicine was there. And I wanted to get her involved. And she actually ended up being a super supporter, sent all of her patients, and co-authored my first book with me.
Wow.
Yeah, she was an amazing woman. Unfortunately, she's no longer with us. Just a superhuman being. Yeah, go ahead.
And that's for the OsteoStrong with Tony.
That was for the OsteoStrong. And then after the trial I was talking about, I realized, like I said, weightlifting sucks to stimulate muscle growth. It's just awful. It's just not how we work. Like, we ought to have variance. And there's been a few approaches, but the approaches weren't strong enough. Like, there are some people who like have a weighted bar and then they put some bands on it also. The problem is the variance ratio is bad, because like they're holding X on the bar on their chest and they're holding 1.2X at the top, whereas you actually would want to hold like X at the bottom and maybe 5X at the top. So
Wow.
It's got to be a very strong difference.
How does this all? Okay, so I'm going off of Dave Daly talking to me about this, and he's the reason I bought your system. And so I look at this, and he says, well, he talks about diet as well. Do you do the carnivore diet?
Yes.
And anything else with that? I think he said you were one of the reasons he started it.
Yeah, that makes sense. How do I say this in the least offensive way?
Say it however you have to say it, man. You're not going to
Yeah,
offend me.
we need animal protein, and it's like vegetable protein is so low quality. We only we only have the ability to absorb 9 to 16% of the protein that comes from vegetable sources. So, if you're only getting 16%, let's say you have some pea protein, powdered pea protein, you're mixing it up all day long. However many grams of protein you're getting, it's really only 16% of that. So you're really doing anything? No, you're just wasting your time, wasting your money. So you got to have a higher quality protein. So and you also need 1 gram per pound of body weight. That's been very laboriously covered by many different studies, and there's still people who want to argue with it. Usually they're vegans or like Seventh-day Adventists who like it's their mission to make everybody a vegetarian, like literally a religious mission.
Is it really?
Yeah. And they don't care who they have to lie to. Like that's what Jesus wanted, according to them.
Wow.
Yeah. So
wow.
Okay. Yeah. So you got to look at like when you read a study where it says like carbohydrates are great. Who funded that study or who was involved? Was any Seventh-day Adventists involved? If so, drop it in the trash.
Wow.
If was an institution of nutritional wellness or some nonprofit involved, which is just a shill for Nabisco or Kellogg's or Baskin Robbins. Yeah, that's a lot of those things. See, the big food, so snack foods are all carbohydrate based. I mean, with the exception of, maybe the guy who makes beef jerky. And I suppose a Slim Jim, but there's probably some barn paint in there, so he's conflicted. Never eat a Slim Jim.
Don't eat a Slim Jim?
No.
What about that rip dude that always I'm snapping to a Slim Jim?
Oh, you mean Randy Savage?
Yeah, Randy Savage. They just paid him well. He probably did.
Yeah. He's I love that guy. I love just yelling into the camera. Yes, a man of the people.
That's funny.
Cool. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us.
Right.
Yeah.
He ate too many Slim Jims.
Probably. Yeah, don't eat Slim. It's just a chemical shitstorm. You know that.
Yeah.
Processed foods is a big problem. But
yeah.
So basically, big food knows that big food wants everybody to be vegan, not because they're trying to help you with your health. It's because they know vegans don't eat kale. They eat cookies and cake. Because, right, it's not meat. So you can shovel sugar into your mouth all day long, and they make sugar-based products.
Wow.
So there's trillions of dollars behind things like Beyond Meat or the Impossible Burger, trying to get people to get this chemical garbage and give up on meat because they can sell them more expensive products. So from top to bottom, I got this from one of the biggest meat distributors in the United States. The guy who owns companies is a really good friend of mine. And he says, from top to bottom, the best margin, and this is divided between all distributors and the farmer and everything like that, 12% with a steak. There is a 12% margin. So, and that's got to be divided amongst multiple parties.
Yeah.
So meat has a relatively poor margin, but like a Triscuit, and I don't know how accurate this is. I did read it in an article. Don't remember where I saw that article. Has a 600% margin because the base material, wheat grain, is literally cheaper than dirt.
Wow.
Like topsoil is more expensive. Yeah. Yeah. It's like they can turn something cheaper than dirt into a desirable food, and then they tell you it's healthy. They lie to you and tell you it's healthy. I mean, these people, it's criminal what's going on, but you know.
So you're not a proponent of wheat-based products.
No.
You know, I truly
I don't eat
believe
anything other than steak.
Really?
I have a supplement. There's a supplement I do also called Fortigen, which is, there you go. Fortigen's right there. Yeah.
So
It's
I've been holding on to this to ask you what the heck this is.
right. So
it came with the system.
Yeah. So humans are supposed to eat rotting things, but obviously for sanitation reasons, we don't. But there's real value there. It's where the best amino acids come from. So with this product, it's the bacterial fermentation, but the bacteria is gone, after it's left the material and just left the fermentation behind. And then we have amino acids, and then there's all the amino acids are combined in the right proportion. So different cultures, and then the putting them together in the right combination that the human body can most optimally use. So almost 100% usable by the body. So I take 4 doses of Fortigen per day. So that makes up for 200 grams of protein. Yeah, 4 of those, and except on rest days, because I'm not going through any muscle protein synthesis on rest day, so no need. So I'll take 4 of those, and then maybe have a 1-pound steak in the evening. That's a 300 grams of protein, and I weigh 240, so I'm overfed on protein.
Wow,
that's the goal.
No
That's
carbs.
the only macro I count. I don't really eat carbohydrates, with the exception of hyperplasia protocol, where you stretch muscle to the point where you force cells to split. That's detailed in the book. And you have a little bit of carbohydrate before that to superhydrate the muscle. But that's it. That's my whole diet. And the carbohydrates are glucose tablets. In fact, they're right here. Glucose supplement.
Wow.
Yeah. Just little tablets.
So you get up you don't eat in the morning. It doesn't sound like.
Don't even have a glass of water.
So my wife just did a 36-hour dry fast. I think she may have watched one of your videos, and she did a 36-hour dry fast. I was impressed.
Nice. So I go 20 hours a day dry fasted, and then I have a 4-hour hydration and eating window.
Wow.
That's 7 days a week.
Wow.
It seems extreme. I actually developed this because I thought it would be easier for people to follow this than some of the other stuff I was doing, because I was doing like 3-day water fasts, and people were like, no way can I do that. I hate when people say that. It's like, all right, so just talk yourself out of success. Good for you. Because you will succeed. Like, if you want to lose body fat, you go 3 days with no food, like, you can see a difference just in a couple of days. Like, you'll see body fat just disappearing.
So water fast means you're just consuming water?
Yeah.
Wow. How don't you get a headache or
in the beginning? Your body gets to it. Yeah, yeah. Like anything else, like so hydration is very key to having your cerebrospinal fluid right. So like when you're dehydrated, you're low on cerebrospinal fluid. And so your brain, is actually like touching the bottom of your skull. Like it's a mechanical problem. And so now this is with big hydration changes. Like, let's say, you couldn't drink anything for, you're stuck in the desert. You're just dehydrated, and, you got a splitting headache. And then you come back and you drink a ton of water. Now you made too much cerebrospinal fluid. You got a headache again. Different kind of headache. But the body's always trying to find homeostasis. It's always trying to find a way to be like in balance. So what happens when you first start to dry fast, and especially like if you've never done this before, now I had the luxury of doing this in high school because I wrestled. Everybody dry fasts in wrestling. We don't call it dry fasting. We just call it making weight. So you can like I wrestled on the 130-pound weight class, but I was more like 140 in high school.
Got it.
So yeah, so like 2 days, like 48 hours, no food, no water. And guess what? I was down 10 pounds. Most of it was water. And yeah.
But okay, so, and this is not me making excuses for anyone. I mean, obviously, if you can, and I'm getting ready to pop your website up here. That's what I'm. If it looks like I'm distracted, that's what I'm doing. But the average person, if obviously you're going to be more successful when you can reach the average human being that isn't the athlete, that isn't the they're just fat, and they've tried everything. They've tried the Jenny Craig, and they've tried the 75 hard. And which I've done. My wife and I both completed that, and like I said, it's hard for a reason. It's called that for a reason. But the average person that is like, man, I go to the gym, I see all these muscle heads there screaming as they're lifting weights, and I've been there. Like I'm over on the treadmill, and I'm watching the big dudes over there screaming as they're throwing weights around. I'm like, dude, like, what the heck are you doing? I don't even go over by there because it's like I don't fit in. I'm not going over there. And who wants to go for an hour and a half to the freaking gym? And so what is the solution for the average person that wants to be more fit? They want to lose weight. They don't want to do a 20-hour fast every day. But like, is there a solution? Is there a happy medium somewhere?
Yes. What I'm doing also, like you've seen pictures of me, you see a picture of me on the cover of the book.
Yeah.
I'm in very good shape. And so I'm beyond what most people would want. And when it comes to being really lean, diet counts a lot more than your exercise.
Really?
You need them both, but the more extreme the nutrition, you'll see those results. And like past, like getting leaner than 7% for most white people is very difficult. Like your testosterone starts crashing, like your body doesn't want you to look like a statue.
Right.
And if you can get there, it usually has to do with dehydration. You can't be there for very long. So it's kind of fleeting.
Yeah.
So I tell people, like, first of all, stop looking at bodybuilders. Like if you want to see like a great physique, those guys look like that for one day.
Right.
And it has a lot to do with they can manipulate the hydration. So they hydrate the muscle, but they dehydrate the skin. So the skin looks very thin and almost inhuman-like. And so there's a science. I guess there's a practice to that.
Right.
There's science in it, but it was really developed through trial and error, which is not science. But they know how to do that. But they look like that for a very short period of time.
Right.
5 days after the contest, they don't look like that. 5 days before the contest, they don't look like that. So I tell people, just stop looking at those guys. And instead, look at, if you want look at strong, lean people, look at the NFL. First of all, they're drug tested.
Yep.
And all like that. And that's why I really enjoy working with the NFL players I work with. They're strong, they're lean, and they're not taking anything. And the way the World Anti-Doping Association works now, if you have any irregularity in your blood work, like it used to be they needed to identify what you had been taking. And so somebody would modify some like steroid and then take it, and it's like they couldn't identify it. So they're like, well, so they just created a new chemical and then would just use that. So that's a problem, clearly.
Yeah.
But now if you have any irregularity, like your testosterone just looks too high, or your estradiol is wrong, or your whatever, your estrogen has a spike in it, or it's too low. You've been taking an estrogen suppressant or something like that. Even things like Flonase. Like if you're a sprinter and you take Flonase, you're out. You're done. You can't race. That's cheating.
Wow.
This is a bronchial dilator. It opens up all the pathways in your sinuses and in your lungs. So you have an advantage. You can process more oxygen.
Yeah.
So it's really less about like trying to define what cheating is. It's just you got to be natural, and natural is natural. That,
Yeah.
No cold medicines, no whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So somebody
hang on. What I was saying was, if you want to know what you can look like with a reasonable, with a good effort with exercise, and you still have to train to fatigue, but it only takes 10 minutes. So people have 10 minutes. I find people are not lazy.
Yeah.
But it's the time. Like they can work out hard for 10 minutes, but if you tell them to work out hard for an hour, they're like, I don't have the time. So
10 minutes is so manageable, man.
Right. Yeah. Spend as much time doing that, brushing your teeth.
Yeah. Is that a couple of times a day, once a day? How often do you recommend?
Once a day, 6 days a week.
Really?
Yep.
10 minutes?
Yeah. So you get to fatigue a lot quicker than you would in a standard workout. The objective is to completely fatigue the muscle. And so X3 is a strategy to get to a greater level of fatigue with higher weight and a higher level of safety. So
and your body, Dave Daly said, your body becomes a furnace. The fat just starts melting off.
He's right. Yeah, he's a lean guy. He knows.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
That was a question. That's true.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Well, there's a couple reasons. One is you build muscle fast with X3. Muscle is an engine that's running all the time, burning calories, right?
Yeah.
Like the calorie argument, by the way, is like a poor one because you're not an ice cube. Like melting of an ice cube is the laws of thermodynamics. The biochemistry of a human or an animal has a lot of hormones going on, which skews what we would expect from the laws of thermodynamics. Your body will at times retain more than you think. It will recycle more old cells than you would think because you're taking in less fuel. So you got to stimulate the body in the proper way and, make sure you're not painting yourself into a corner like people who do a lot of cardio and are trying to lose weight. Like that's like the worst thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So when did you develop the X3 system and what was the reason?
Oh, it's going to be the best muscle building product on earth. Also, it's a fraction of the cost of any home gym. When you're done with it, it fits in a drawer. So you don't have to like chew up your garage or a room in your house. Like, I don't know how many emails I've received, hundreds, maybe even over 1,000 emails where people are like, X3 saved my marriage because now my wife doesn't have to park outside anymore because of my gym. And I was like, all I was thinking was, why didn't you park outside? Like a lot of guys out there, they're just dicks. If you want a gym in your garage, you put it on your side.
Right.
Or same vice versa. But the funny thing is, it was always that same story. And I'm like, God, like the nation needs marriage counseling. Or at least these guys do. Like my wife doesn't want to park outside. I mean, maybe they only have a 1-car garage, and maybe that was like they both had to park outside. I don't know. But I just there's an odd talk track that just kept on showing up, and I was like, okay,
that might be the funniest thing I've heard in a while. But like, okay, and I've seen pictures of you. I mean, you're freaking ripped. Like, it looks like there's not a muscle in your body that's not like ripped. And were you like that prior to X3?
No, I was fat.
No, come on.
Mm-hmm.
You were fat.
That's right.
Dude, really?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was 20% body fat. I mean, I call that fat. Like you could not see any abdominals at all. Yeah. I mean, I had a pudgy stomach. fat face. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, this is while I was launching, OsteoStrong. I flew 200,000 miles a year. So like, and the funny thing, I was pretty close to carnivore back then. I was ketogenic back then because I knew that was the optimal nutrition. But like still, like with the amount of travel, like there was a lot of processed stuff in there, and eating on planes, you don't know what the hell they put in that. Like there's all kinds of vegetable oils which are just totally toxic. I still eat out a lot, but I eat at places that don't use vegetable oil.
Right.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I wasn't in shape. I would expect, like usually when I'd be at the beach and I'd have my shirt off, nobody would say nobody would say I look strong or like, wow, do you work out? No, nobody was impressed. But I didn't look weak.
Right.
I played rugby in undergrad. Like I probably looked like the standard rugby player. Just you don't have a six pack or anything.
Right.
But I was 190. But then once starting X3, the first year I gained 30 pounds of muscle. Second year I gained 15 pounds of muscle and lost in those 2 years 16 pounds of body fat. So yeah, I mean, I totally became a different person, and yeah, it worked. It worked so well, and like I'd been lifting weights for 20 years, and I really hadn't got anything out of it. Like I was I never missed a workout probably in 20 years. Like I was dedicated. I did it. I managed. Every time I thought I was getting bigger, I really just got fatter. Which is where the 20% body fat came from. Because in undergrad, like I remember I did a triathlon right after rugby season, and like I went to the gym and lifted after my triathlon. That shows you like I wasn't even like worn out. I was like whatever. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Charles Coachman says, "Is this recommended for all ages?"
Yeah, as long as you're fully mobile, you can stand, you can do it. It comes with a lot of it comes with lightweight banding, and then it goes to very, very heavy. The heaviest band is 600 pounds. That's optional, by the way, just because not everybody is going to be able to use that on day one. They might need to get that one later. Half of the NFL cannot use that band.
I did not buy the 600-pound band.
Yeah, you didn't need, right. You probably will. And a lot of guys who started in the NFL, they couldn't use it. They couldn't even do one rep, and now they can because they've gotten stronger.
Wow. My wife's asking a question on here. Will women lean out and tone? She doesn't want to build bulk, or doesn't want to bulk up.
Right.
She doesn't want to look like you.
I don't blame her. Like you,
I don't want her to look like you.
You don't want your wife to look like me either. So here's differences between men and women. Women don't have the hormones to look like a man from a muscular standpoint. They end up just getting harder and better shape to them. So the softness of the muscle goes away and becomes harder. The body fat around the muscle becomes less, and women become more defined. They look more feminine. Here's what happens to a lot of women is they start lifting weights, and then they have a bigger appetite. So then they start eating more, and then they're like, "Oh no, I'm getting big from lifting." It's like, no. Cupcakes are getting you big. I have this discussion all the time. It's very frustrating because they're ignoring like the obvious, and a lot of people lie to themselves about what they eat. Like I talk to people every day who are 300, 400 pounds, and they're like, I don't understand. I only eat 1,500 calories a day. Like if you're gonna lie to yourself and lie to me, like no, nothing I can do here.
Mary says, why does heart disease exist? Plant-based eaters say it's animal food that causes heart issues. Let's see if that triggers you.
That doesn't trigger me. No, I'm not a vegan. They're the ones that get mad. They're science. So cardiac incidents in meat eaters. So in the past, when a lot of epidemiologic studies were done, these are survey-based studies. So when you're studying a human's nutrition, you can't put them in a cage and feed them what you want to feed them. That's against human ethics, in this country at least.
Yeah.
There's other countries that will let you sort of do that. You can put people in an area where they can't go out and get other food.
Right.
So for a long time, we've been told, for 100 years, we've been told vegetables are the healthiest thing we can eat. And sugar wasn't allowed to be vilified in the 1960s and 70s. So it was discovered that it was just killing us. And people were paid off to sit on the information. So, and it was the big food producers that didn't want that out there.
Right.
Yeah, they just wanted to keep selling people breakfast cereal and ice cream and all kinds of stuff, packaged foods.
But like Pepsi and Coke are good for you, right?
Yeah, they're terrible.
You said
I already knew that. Yeah. So what was the question? Oh, you asked. Somebody asked heart disease, saturated fat. Yeah. So what causes most cardiac incidents is blockage, right?
Yeah.
Where's the blockage come from? So there's inflammation within the cardiovascular system. And as everything's flowing by, your blood cells are flowing by, when a low density lipoprotein, LDL, which is considered bad cholesterol, or previously was considered bad, it's low density, so it sticks on the inflammation points and can cause a blockage. But what's the problem? What's floating by? Or the inflammation. So the inflammation is the problem. And by the way, you'll have sky-high cholesterol when you fast, when you eat nothing, because your body is metabolizing its own body fat.
Wow.
So that's when your cholesterol goes highest. So saying LDL cholesterol or cholesterol in general is bad for you is like saying weight loss is bad for you. So we should all just be fat.
Right.
Obviously, that's stupid. So
if
you know this, and this is just, I'm talking like basic biology right now.
Yeah.
Like, well, if that low density lipoprotein is present and will always be present at times, and it'll be intermittently present, well, then we need to stop the inflammation. Where's the inflammation come? It comes from carbohydrates. Sugars, really, just the refined fructose, that kind of thing. That should be cut out of our diets completely.
I've heard people say, if you're going to have sugar, don't do processed sugars. Make sure it's the pure sugar cane. That's
yeah. Well, there was a homeless guy that lived in a dumpster behind my place in San Francisco. And he was the same thing about heroin. But I don't get my life advice from homeless people.
Right. So let me ask you this, and this will probably be more of a psychological thing. What do you think, in your opinion, because there's going to be a lot of people that watch this, your X3 system certainly is way less expensive than a home gym, but it's still $500 or whatever it is, right? So there's going to be a lot of people that watch this that go, man, I'd like to look like that dude, or I'd really like, but I don't know that I can give up. Man, I love bread. I don't think I can give up bread. I don't, the carbs, man. Like, and I'm a recovered alcoholic with 19 years sober. So I know I know what it's like to lie to myself.
And let me ask you a question. Why don't alcoholics get a cheat day?
Right, because it turns into a cheat life.
Carbohydrates are completely addictive.
Yep.
In nature, they go away. Like if we were in an indigenous tribe somewhere, we would know where the peach trees are. We would gorge ourselves on peaches, make ourselves fat for the winter so we could live off of our body fat. Listen to this. Bears give themselves type 2 diabetes every year. What is type 2 diabetes? It helps you get as fat as possible, but they hibernate. They don't eat anything for the winter. And we're designed with that same mechanism. So I say type 2 diabetes is not a dysfunction of the body at all. It's a function. Like it's your body helping you get as fat as possible so you can survive the winter. But we don't have these challenges anymore. So what do you need carbohydrates for? Because the rest of the year, people can't get them. You know, where I live in Northern California, numerous places that I live, but like this whole area, like fruits and vegetables don't bloom here.
Right.
Like maybe, I mean, not for an extended period of time, you know, maybe a couple of weeks towards the end of the summer in the fall, probably mid-fall before it gets cold. So that's the only time you have carbohydrates. And then you get fat and then you survive the winter.
What do you think, and this is in your opinion, what do you think holds people back though and I'm talking about success financially, success in life, success with getting rid of body fat. What is it that's stopping people?
Well, from a fitness perspective, so I think fitness is a catalyst to your whole life, because once you get your body fat under control, once you feel great when you get out of bed and then look in the mirror and you're like, oh, wow, like my six pack looks great today. Like, you know, you kind of there. Like nothing, I'm going to quote Coco Chanel here. Nothing tastes as good as being, she said thin. I always misquote her and say fit, feels.
Yeah.
Because and she's saying you know, when you wake up, you look in the mirror and you look great. Like, wow, like what a great place to be.
Yeah.
The problem is everybody is given such bad advice. The nutrition that people follow, even what they think is healthy, is not. And then their exercise is just beyond illogical. But it's what people are doing. I mean, hey, like when you had a fever, you know how George Washington died? Bloodletting. They cut him open and let him bleed out a pint of blood. Yeah. It's to reduce his fever. He had like pneumonia or something, and they wanted to get his fever down. So you just make somebody bleed a pint, and you know, then their fever goes down. That's how they used to do it. Or they'd cover you with leeches. So
I mean, it worked. His fever went down.
His fever went down, and then he bled to death. So yeah, that's how the guy died.
God, so I didn't know that.
That was medicine back then. Yeah.
Wow.
So there's a big paradigm shift. And, you know, at first I was totally ridiculed. And then now I'm being violently opposed. But then, you know, the third phase with innovation is it's accepted as normal. You know, people will act like variable resistance always made sense. And anything else was just kind of oh, yeah, remember when we used to lift just iron that didn't change weight as we moved? Boy, that was stupid. That's where the world will be, because when everybody understands variable resistance, and that's the point of the book, and you know, I belabor it in the book. I go over every little detail. I describe every single study and the outcomes and the limitations of every study and what the study found. So each study individually, does it tell the whole story? No, but when you look at all 16 of them, you're like, okay, every time this has been analyzed, this comes out to be way better than regular weightlifting.
That's so awesome, man. You've got me sold. Dave Daly already had me sold. I mean, I went out and bought your X3 and I know nothing about it. Like, not yet. I'm going to watch the videos, but you know, I think that everybody watching, first off, show the book. I'm going to give you full screen. Show your book one more time, if you would, John, so everybody can see that. Weightlifting is a waste of time. And what's the subtitle?
And so is cardio.
And so is cardio.
Yeah, and there's a better way to have the body you want.
Oh,
and
dude,
it's where are we? It's a Wall Street Journal bestseller.
That's incredible, man. That's absolutely incredible. And here John Fairchild has been singing your praises. He's on the X3 system. He's singing your praises in the comments. I am going to get you to come on and do an Amazon live so we can sell your book directly to Amazon customers. But so stay with me if you would. I'm going to end the live stream. I would like to know a little bit more about this, because everybody says that everybody that's doing this is saying they're using the Fortigen 2. And that's you recommend how many of these per day for the average?
You want 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. One of those is the value equivalent of 50 grams of standard protein source.
Okay.
So yeah. So like if you like whatever your body, like what's your body weight?
I'm at about 235.
So you want 235 grams of protein. So, you know, you could get 3 of them. So 3 doses, and you've taken care of 150 grams of protein. You know, now you have 85 grams of protein you need to take care of, which is like a 1 pound ribeye. So like, and that's why I only eat 1 meal a day, because, you know, it's like I take care of my nutrition, and, you know, and for the most part, and then, you know, I have room for some real food.
I have noticed since Dave told, I didn't even know about this carnivore thing. So Dave told me about it. He's like, dude, I'm on the road so much. I'll go through a drive-through at Wendy's and get a triple with, you know, bacon, and that's all. And so I've done that, right, multiple times. And I'm going to tell you that. What's that?
Did you throw the bun away?
Yeah, no bun, no condiments, just the meat. I do have them put a slice of cheese on it. I know, but it's processed. But I'm going to tell you something, and for anybody listening, it's a significant change in your appetite. I notice when I eat like maybe a triple like that, right? I have no appetite for a long time. I mean, where if I'm eating, I don't know, bread or this crap or, you know, whatever, like within a few hours, I'm hungry again. And that's not the case with this.
Right.
It's incredible. So I think that more people need to be in your environment. They need to follow you on Instagram, first off. And you have a Facebook page as well, right?
Yep.
Okay.
In fact, I have a landing page, which is easier because most people have trouble spelling my last name. So it's just drj.com, DOCTOR, the letter J.com. And there's links to the landing page. So there's links to my Instagram, my Facebook, YouTube. I do most on Instagram just because it's easier. Like I like that platform better.
Let me, and it's just DOCTOR and the letter J.com.
Yeah. .com.
How did you get that? Wow. That's it right there. drj.com.
drj.com. Yeah. Well, Julius Irving is fishing now.
That's funny. Wow. Dude, you're incredible, man. I'm look, Mark Rodriguez said he's selling his Peloton. Mine's for sale too. So, all right, Dr. John, thank you so much. I appreciate you being on here. Hang on real quick. I want to talk to you about doing an Amazon, but thank you, man. You're awesome. Everybody go over to drj.com, follow this guy, buy his system, and let's join his community and create some really healthy human beings here. Thank you so much, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. We'll see you guys later.